Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to paint this lovely cherry tart. Let's analyze this reference photo. We will simplify the water drop on the cherry and keep the highlight. And also we keep the paper white for the highlight on the cream as well. Okay. Let's get some paint ready. Alright, so this is the color set I picked. Actually, you can use any kind of similar colors that you have on your set. Doesn't matter. As long as you pick up the brush and start painting. That is all that matters. Okay, so we're gonna start off with some indigo and red in the light consistency. We're gonna paint this area here. Okay, you just look at the reference photo and then you follow. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Okay, next one, you're gonna use the mix of red and red ochre or red as some kind of brown that you have with a medium consistency, which means medium water in our mix. Not too light, not too thick, enough for our painting. We're going to paint the whole area of the cream, maybe the chocolate cream, I guess. And you prevent painting in the white or the light here. You avoid it. And then just keep going, painting all over the cream. Now for some color change to be more interesting, I'm gonna mix in some carmine. Is a pink, kind of pink color to make it more vibrant. Okay, get in the mix and then we continue. So I make a mistake here because the process of unboxing the new pan is way too long, so it makes my paper dry and leave the quite a border. But it's okay. If it happens to you, just ignore it because eventually you're gonna paint the next layer and it doesn't matter. Maybe some random accident, happy accident is also great and carry the personal imprint. Okay. And then you just keep painting all over the area. Remember to avoid the white highlight of the cream. moving to the next one, we're gonna add some indigo into our mix. If it's too dark, we can, add some brown into it to lighten the color. And now you're gonna paint in some dark area you can see on the picture. And if it's too dark for this area, which is lighter, you can add some cadmium red into it. Along the way, you can add some pink or some red into the mix for the color variation. It's totally up to you. Moving to the next thing, we're gonna paint the pastry. Now you're gonna take a little bit of cadmium yellow with a medium consistency. And then you're gonna paint some light area of the pastry. Remember to avoid the white highlight that you can see in the picture. Okay, keep going. A little bit here. You can leave it white where the highlight, and then a little bit of golden to amplify the darker corner in the pastry. Don't be so eager to add like dark value in the beginning. It's gonna make your painting dull. So we just, gradually increase and make it darker over time. Now I use a little bit of water to, blend the area to make it softer. Okay, continue to add yellow to other areas of the pastry. And then some orange in some area. Just keep doing like that in other area. The reason why I add the orange right after the yellow is because that's when the paper is still wet. We have a layer of yellow underneath, and then the orange will blend very well in that yellow. If you cannot do that, it's okay. Okay, I continue to use some water to blend out the area to make it softer. Okay, as you can notice in the area that I'm painting it appears darker, more orange compared to other area. That's why I add more orange into it. And also the crust that stay behind also has more orange to it. To make it more appetizing, I add some red. That's a trick to make the pastry look yummier. Excuse me. Okay, continue to add the color as you see on the pictures. Don't worry, just practice a few times and you get the hang of it. You may feel overwhelmed by the crush because this pastry has a lot of folds and cross area, very confusing, but no worries. We just add it up along the way. You don't have to focus too much on the detail in the beginning. At this stage you just see where the dark area is, where the light value is, and then you just paint over it. It's totally fine. Remember to keep the color light and don't go overboard at this stage. Now we're gonna paint some dark area of the pastry. You're gonna mix red with some red ochre and then add a little bit of indigo to darken the mix. And you also want to switch to a smaller brush for detail. Okay, add color to the dark corner which hidden in the dark. Along the way, you can just add a little bit of color here and there to create more variation. It's totally up to you and your creation. Don't just stick to my, color formula. You can do pretty much whatever you want. You just understand what you're doing. It's totally fine. So you can just see the reference photo and add the color along the way. Pretty much everything about it. Just do it slow, gradually. You don't have to rush. There. Add some lines to show the crush, the layers of the pastry. When I first started with watercolor painting, I used to do, paint along with the tutorials. But back then I was really nervous and stressful because I stick to the tutorials like 100%. I felt overwhelmed of all the details because painting isn't like math. So you can have like 100% right answer. In art, you can have multiple answers with different styles, different variations. You just need to understand the core value, like the core of what you're doing, and that's all. All right, back to the painting. Now you just add little tiny teeny details to define the shadow, define the value of the pastry. Okay, the pastry is pretty much done. Now we're moving to the cherry. We use some carmine with medium consistency and we paint all over the cherry, but do avoid the highlight, the light area of the cherry. I will use a clean brush with a little bit of water to soften the edge between two areas. And then with that damp clean brush, I'm gonna take off some water on the side of the cherry because that is the reflected light area. Okay, make sure your brush is damp and clean, no color in it. Now we're gonna take a little bit of red into the mix and go over some darker area of the cherry, like near the stem, near the reflected light area, or at the bottom of the cherry on the sides. Then we're gonna use some red ochre and pink, carmine, and then a little bit of indigo to create a much darker color. And then we're gonna go into some dark area of the cherry. Feel free to add more color into the mix. As I say, to create variation. You don't have to stick to just one. Whenever you feel like your edge is too defined, you can use some clean brush to soften it. Now we're gonna use some indigo to add to the mix to create a much darker value. And then we go over some dark area, as you can see in the pictures. I painted quite dark, so I used the previous mixture of red and carmine to soften the area to create a much softer transition. I create some hard lines I use clean water to soften it. Now you can take some green with a little bit of yellow to paint the stem. Don't have to be too details in it, just add some color to the stem and that's it. Now moving back to the cream, we're going to mix some darker color, a little bit of red, a little bit of indigo. Okay, it's a little bit too dark, but I paint it anyway. The darker area that stays in the dark, in the shadow. Okay, just paint along. You can constantly check the reference photo to see if you're doing it right or not. Okay. You can add a little bit of red to weaken the value of the mix and go into the area that is not too dark. It totally depends on your observation's eyes. Just like that. Okay, moving back to the pastry. Now we're going to paint more details into it. You take some orange and add to some false and darker details in the crush, in the pastries. Yes. Watch closely and the reference pictures to see where to add the color. going to add some red into the mix of orange and go over some dark, even darker detail, like the corner of the crush, the line in the folds. Just try to observe the reference photo. Do you understand what I mean? Just gradually build up the details like that, and you get there in no time. Going back to the chocolate cream, you can use the previous mix of red and indigo to go into some dark, really dark detail, the area in the corner, or some reflection of dark object maybe on the cream. Maybe you call this the glaze, I guess, not the cream. Yeah. And then go over some area to blend it out to make it smooth. I switch to a smaller brush to easier go into some details. I use a clean damp brush loaded with clean water to smudge out and darken the area over here. Now use some green mixed with orange to create a darker color and go over some dark area of the stem. You can use the old mix of the cream, the dark color, to go over the stem. Now going back to the cherry, I'm gonna use a very light consistency of the mix here, the dark mix, to go over the reflected light because I think it's too bright compared to our highlight. Then you're gonna use indigo with a little bit of carmine to go over the darkest area of the cherry, like there, like in the corner design, just like that. Then we're gonna paint some shadow so our pastry won't be floating in the air. You can use a mix of indigo and red that's still on the palette and go over the bottom of the pastry and then use some clean brush to soften it, and then some indigo go into the line that the surface touch the pastry to create the darkest value of the shadow, and then some water to clean it out. Even use some dry brush to create a interesting texture of the shadow. Okay, so now we're done with all the stuff. It's time to sign your signature into your painting. Congratulations and enjoy your process. That's all for today. Bye bye.